What's up, guys? I don't really have a format for this video. I'm just going to be rambling. I feel the need to talk into a microphone about what's going on, so maybe you might get some insight from me kind of just talking about what life is like right now. I'm 25 years old. I'm about to be 26 in about 2 or 3 weeks, so mid 20s. I make about $84,000. I do pretty well for myself. I'd say my biggest issues growing up had mostly revolved around my ability to attract women and all of the insecurities that stemmed from that, and all of the additional insecurities that I started to attach to myself, trying to explain why women seemingly weren't attracted to me. I'm at a point in my life where I'm doing pretty good with women. I'm doing better than I ever could have imagined I could do. You hear those things. You hear those things from people, and it's like, oh, they're exaggerating. They're just trying to pitch you on something. And it's like, no. It turns out if you just do enough work, you will get better at things. And that includes or charisma, talking to girls, doing approaches, online dating, all of that. Looking at where I was when I was like 17 or 18, I am miles ahead of just in terms of ability to get an output. Now that I'm 25, about to be 26, and that's for several reasons. Again, just more reps, spending more hours doing the things that were really uncomfortable, doing the things that were kind of scary for one reason or another, because somebody in my life said that I should be this kind of way, and I never thought to question it, right? Just doing the things, getting myself to do the things may have been harder than actually doing the things, but doing the things will get you the results. And that's something that is becoming more and more true as I get older. I don't want to go on too far of a tangent. So with all that being said, where I'm at right now, I just moved to a much nicer part of my state, Arizona. I'm in a better area, better community. When I walk outside, I see things that are much more pleasant to my eyes than what I used to see in Phoenix. I'm doing pretty well financially. I'm in a pretty blessed position. I am leaving the Air Force, so I'm a veteran. I left about 2 years ago, and in that time, I really took the initiative, did a lot of research, reached out to other veterans, and I figured out what was necessary and what I needed to do in order to get disability, right? One of the biggest benefits I think that the military offers, and one that isn't really discussed a lot, is their disability. It pays for life, assuming that you get permanent and total. I'm in a pretty good position because of these disability payments. I plan on going back to school using the GI Bill as well, but for the time being, I've been able to sustain myself for the last 2 years using these payments, and it's almost as if I've taken like a mini retirement. It hasn't been until maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that I began working again, and I'm not working nearly at the capacity that I was when I was younger, right? Taking that retirement really did kind of hurt me. It was good in some ways, it was bad in some other ways as well. But I am now working blue collar work. I'm in a factory. I'm working for Amazon, and after taxes, I make almost $15 an hour. It's like $14.98, I think. Taxes are a lot more aggressive than I remember, but that's just what it is. But when you pull everything together, I'm sitting at about $84,000 a year for income. So pretty sweet, pretty nice position to be in. I cannot complain. It's enough to keep the lights on. It's enough for me to not go to work. It's enough for me to get respected by my bosses because I carry myself in a certain way in that factory as if I'm not afraid of being fired. And it almost makes them value me as like a prized employee, right? This is somebody who appears to be so competent that he will defend himself if necessary, and he'll do it in a way that is reasonable. And I can see at first, I don't know if it's because of my skin color, maybe it was the way I dressed, who knows, but they talk to me as if they assumed I have no competence. And, I'm sure they deal with a lot of people who don't have competence, just seeing where we work at. It's an Amazon factory. You don't really need a whole lot to get hired there. You just need to pass a drug test. So, and not be a felon, don't steal anything. But I'm sure they deal with a lot of incompetent individuals, and, just the way I carry myself, the way that I talk to them, the way that I question, the way that they speak to me. It's as if they've never seen it. And the following times that they've spoken to me, it's been with much more respect, with much more compassion, and humanity, I guess is the correct word. So that's cool seeing that. I used to be a pretty skinny kid. I used to not know how to stand up for myself. I used to kind of be walked over in some instances, or made the butt of the joke, sometimes willingly. I would self-deprecate just to get more social points. But yeah, I'm at a stage in my life where that just doesn't fucking happen. People respect me, and that feels good. It feels really good. And this is kind of the strange thing. On paper, and even as I'm saying it aloud, my life is sweet. But I feel shitty. I feel unsatisfied. I find it difficult to tolerate being at home. And something that's pretty big, that is kind of the main reason why I'm recording this in the first place, is I just took down my entertainment center. No more couch, no more TV. I just took it off the wall. Got rid of the little table in between, in the center of the living room, and I'm in the living room now. The center of the living room is a desk. To my right is a whiteboard that rolls around, and it's in front of the window, right? So as soon as you walk in, it's just work. And I'm finding that it's almost depressing for me to discover that this is life. I had this interpretation that once I had established this asset and started receiving passive income, that I would be happy. And it was pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. It was great. But I wanted more. I still had ambition. And I found that even taking 2 years and just sitting on the couch and smoking weed and, just getting really good at talking to girls to the point where I could just have them come over, have new girls come over 2 or 3 times a week, at the point where I could just rotate women in and out, I became less and less satisfied with just pleasure. It was defiance that I was satisfied with. If I'm being honest, it was the idea that I was almost getting reparations from society for, again, a whole number of insecurities that were all in my head. But it was like I was being defiant to what the status quo was for a young man, especially one who looked like me. I wasn't living like that. And the expectation is to do work. I decided I would just focus on pleasure. And of course, I still did a lot of work, but not nearly as much as I could have. Of all the hours in those 2 years that had gone by, I'd say about 80% were spent on my ass staring at my phone or at a TV or just sleeping. A good amount of that time was just spent being lazy. And about 20% was spent making videos. And, I had a little part-time job here and there. And I always have been going to the gym. Even when I don't go consistently, I'm just so into fitness. I get the itch for it. I can't go more than 2 weeks without a workout. So, some people, they will go years without going into the gym. I'm not one of those people. I work out because I enjoy working out. It's not difficult for me. But I did fall off of my routine during those 2 years. I used to go every day for 3 hours because, I was 20 years old and filled with testosterone, and I was angry, and I needed an outlet, and that's just where we hung out after work, being inside the military. So it was like a social thing for me at the same time, and it was just everything that I really needed. Almost everything. I also needed a girlfriend, but it solved a lot of problems just getting inside the gym and being around people and lifting those weights. It put me in this position where this is about a week back into the gym, and I already look a little puffy. Give me about 2 or 3 more weeks, I'm going to look a little bit scary, and it's always fun to be able to just hit that switch and turn it on. But I forgot where I was going with this. Let's see. Used to be a skinny kid. I didn't get a lot of respect. Getting bigger has changed that, definitely. Oh yeah, so I haven't been the most satisfied, and even though like 80% of my time was spent on the couch, I still would go to the gym and stuff. And I think I think it's wrong. When I had such a huge emphasis on pleasure, I found that I fell into a state of like decadence. And if you're not familiar with the word, it's a word that I love at the moment. It's like I keep using it. It's like a new word that I just discovered in my vocabulary. But it means to have reached a point of like luxury or a point of comfort in which you start to decline morally. Your standards start to become so high that it's almost like you're fragile, like you're going to chip a nail if you go and do a workout, because your standards have risen. It's that old saying where strong men create easy times and easy times create weak men. Like getting into easy times, it makes you weak. And when I discovered that word, I don't remember where, but I looked it up because it felt like such an important word. It almost felt like it was defining me in the context that I saw it. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is me. I have gotten weak and fragile and lazy, and I've spent 2 years smoking weed and having degenerate sex, sometimes not even with women. I would just, watch porn because I felt as if I had already conquered the ability to get girls, so it was okay to watch porn. It was just like so stupid. But I fell to this point of just being like morally corrupt, like just like avoiding work because I felt like I was better than it. And then once I realized that, it was like, okay, we need to turn this around ASAP. And the entire meaning of life, what I'm trying to cope with or wrap my mind around now is it's no longer reaching this point of luxury where I am free. I've achieved that. And it's been about 700 days of living like that. And I'm not satisfied with it. And so maybe the couch and the TV, maybe they're not good for me. Maybe I could have never known what was good for me until I got to this point. And what I have been striving for as long as I can remember, this like obtainment of freedom, this liberation, this ability, this power to say, fuck you. I always felt like I could never do it, right? Now that I've achieved this position, the only thing that makes sense is to get back to work, or else start picking out coffins, because I know what it's like to have this level of freedom. It's okay. It's better than not having it, but it's almost like I miss painting. I did so much painting that I made a nice piece of art, and I thought that the art is what was going to satisfy me. That was what was driving me to paint. But now that I have the piece of art, it's like I realized that it was the painting that I loved and not the art itself. It's the work. It is the drive, the ambition, the striving for something, the trying to obtain more. That is where I felt my best. Even though I had less, I felt better It's almost like, like imagine you're in college or you're in high school and you're with all your friends and you're working on a project and it's like 2 o'clock and you guys are like hammering energy drinks. And it's like, when you look back on those years, do you think you're going to love the score that you got on the project? Do you think you're going to even remember the grade that you got on that project? Or do you think you're going to remember those nights with your friends doing that work and, ordering the pizza that's super cheap because you guys don't have the money? But when I look back, I remember all the times that I was locked in doing the most work. And those are my most favorable memories by far. And so it's like it's like this massive paradigm shift that I'm going through right now. And maybe you guys can relate. Maybe I might be illuminating something for you. I don't know, but it's work seems to be the ideal state, at least for any man who identifies as masculine, right? Labor, work in some capacity, adversity, challenge, right? It's necessary for a good life, or at least a life well lived. You can have an all right life if you just want to sit on the couch and smoke weed, and like it's a pretty good life. It's not a bad life. It's better than a lot of life. You could be in Africa, you get stung by a mosquito and then you die in 2 years. Like, and your kids catch it too. Like, it's like just sitting on the couch and smoking weed. It's not a bad life, but it's nowhere near a great life. It's nowhere near like returning the credit that the universe has given you when you were born. It's like you're going to leave the account in the negative instead of like overfilling the cup. It's like you could do so much more. And again, I'm almost advocating for myself to embrace challenge. And it's the thing that makes it a challenge is the fact that I do not want to embrace it. I perceive it as adversarial to my wishes. And that would only be so if my wishes were to be a like lazy piece of shit and just sit on the couch and not do anything. And it's like, I keep coming to this conclusion. It's like, well, how is it that I will not fall in love with doing work? Surely this kind of like dissonance that I'm experiencing, this like combativeness that I feel within myself, this cannot last for long, because it's illogical. It's moronic. It doesn't make sense. I've already established that pleasure is not the goal. And so that means I have to continue to find things that are harder and harder, knowing that the only reason that they are hard is because I haven't been exposed to it enough. I haven't established tolerance for that task or that language or that person or that skill or that budgeting habit. I haven't established tolerance for it. That's the only reason that it's hard. It's a flaw in myself, not in the skill. It's like I'm advocating to become bulletproof and like that oh my God, that sounds, it sounds like the God's elixir. It sounds so good. Make the goal to become bulletproof. That is a goal that I could get behind. It's like motivating almost. And then you realize, oh my God, that's a lot of fucking work. It's a lot of fucking work. And then I'm left with two decisions. I do the work, or I feel like a coward and I turn around and I spark up a joint. Knowing that there is no excuse, there is no rationalization, there is no way I could make myself feel comfortable with the bad behavior. It is a decision to be cowardly. It is a decision to fail. It is willingly not being the best version of myself. It is prizing something that I know has no value and is detrimental to my growth. it makes me stupid. It is like the level of logic that you see in a donkey when you put a carrot on a stick and attach it to its head, you know? And the donkey will chase after that. It will start to move faster to get that carrot because it's always right in front of it. But the donkey doesn't know that it's not going to catch it, right? It continues to chase it, not seeing the futility in its emotions. But I am the same. It's just that my folly is just a little bit more advanced. But it's you have to assume that the donkey knows that it can't catch the carrot. It just can't help itself. It's limited in some way or another by nature, by its body, by its mind. It is limited. Are we any different? Am I any different? I know what I must do, but it's like I'm drawn towards being cowardly. I'm drawn towards comfort. I'm drawn towards avoiding doing the work because I've already reached a level so far past my peers, right? I've achieved temporal freedom. You know, I don't have to be anywhere at any time unless I want to. And on top of that, it's massive for my confidence, and it allows me to not take a lot of shit from people, right? This like a bonus byproduct kind of buff that I've gotten because of really just joining the military and doing all of the work and then taking the extra 6 months and jumping through all the hoops, finding those lawyers and the law team and doing all of that to get to this position. It's like I achieved what usually takes people 50, 60 years to do. I did it in 4.5 years. You know, it's a blessing and a curse. So, having already obtained the ability to retire and exercised it already for 2 years, the answer is work. If you're on the fence, if you don't know what you should be doing yourself, and you think that once you can finally make enough money that you can quit, or you hit the jackpot, or you just hit that parlay and you never have to work again, life sucks. I mean, like the people, you have the example, people win the lottery, right? People win the lottery and like their lives fall apart. It's like sometimes for a lot of people, hitting the lottery is the worst thing that could have happened to them. That's kind of what it's like. I'm not saying it's not an awful thing. It's pretty sweet. But there were negatives that I just weren't able to perceive because I just wasn't operating on the level that I am now. It's just shocking. It's a little bit hard to process that. Yeah, the conclusion that I'm coming to now that I have achieved it is we need to get back to work. So that's where I'm at. That's, I guess, what I needed to talk about to myself and really make the decision final, right? Saying all the things out loud, it just really paints the picture on what's going on. But yeah, I guess I'm ready to stop dragging my feet. I'm ready to stop being a piece of shit. I'm ready to stop being lazy. And again, it's so easy to make the argument that I have won the privilege or the right or the authority to be those ways or to act with those traits, you know. But virtue, striving towards virtue, the opposite of those negative traits like laziness, gluttony, those things, you know, striving towards productivity, not needing a lot, being compassionate, really being welcoming. That's something I need to work on. But in effect, just being a well-functioning part of the society, striving for whatever characteristic is necessary for me to achieve that. Patience, sometimes even, tolerance. That seems to be much more rewarding than just getting intoxicated and consuming media and having sex. Sure, I have the ability to do it. I have won it. I deserve it even, but I don't want it. I am going to politely decline in favor of doing work. And that's what this video is here to serve. It's here to tell myself that. And for anybody else who may have been confused or maybe thought that, again, hitting it big is going to be the solution to all your problems. Here's my 2 cents on that. And maybe you have found this video useful. Hopefully you have. Surely you have if you are listening to me right now. We're 26 minutes deep. So if you're still watching, you must either find me really attractive or you really do relate to my story. So I'm going to hope it's the latter. Hopefully you're not here just googly eyeing me. I see you. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm being a little silly now. Like, comment, subscribe if you're still here. Share this with a friend. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think might be useful to hear right now for me. Maybe you know somebody who's gone through this and you can provide a little bit of insight for me. I would really, really appreciate it. But that's all that I have. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.